Good morning, everyone. My name is Michael Santoro. I am the Director of Policy Research and Housing Support at the State of Connecticut Department of Housing. I want to thank you for attending this morning's roundtable on the State of Connecticut Department of Housing's 2023-2024 Action Plan for Housing and Community Development. I appreciate everyone's time and attendance. Please be aware this is recorded. Notes from this meeting will be included in our submission to HUD for our annual action plan. The action plan is the document that we use to support our 5-year consolidated plan for housing and community development, specifically around and associated with the 5 federal programs out of the Office of Community Planning and Development, or CPD, out of the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. We had a public meeting last week where the public is given the opportunity to input into concepts that we will include in our draft plan. There is no draft plan. This is a pre-plan meeting to talk about things that you, as our state agency partners, would like to see us include or highlight in our annual action plan. Our current action plan is available at the department's website. If you go to the publications and notices page, you will see it. 2022-2023 Action Plan for Housing and Community Development. That will be the base document that we will edit, modify, and add to based on input from last week's public meeting, today's roundtable, and this afternoon's community partner discussion. If you can, everyone, please take a moment, type your name and the state agency you represent in the chat, that we will have it for the record and be able to include it in our submission to HUD. Rather than spend a lot of time having people introduce themselves, and there's various state agencies, we find it's the easiest and most expeditious way to document everybody's attendance. If at any point, however, you do speak, please identify yourself and the state agency you represent, so that, again, we're clear as to who's inputting to this process. Periodically throughout this morning, I'm going to share my screen with documents, information, charts, and graphs about as we go forward. Okay? As a matter of fact, let me start with the timeline for this process. And here we are. Okay. The timeline for this year's annual action plan. Again, we started last week. We have a period of community input, about 15 days, where we solicit, again, public comment, engage our state agency partners, and engage our community partners in preparation for the creation of a draft. We published the opportunity for community input, and we take written comment from any and all parties during that 15-day period. Again, we had our first public meeting last week. Today is the state roundtable. This morning, again, this afternoon, our community roundtable for our community partners. We will take that information, prepare our draft plan that should be ready in the second half of April. We then put it out again for public comment and input, and we will again engage our state agency partners separately from the rest of the input process to give you guys specific opportunity to input on our plan. We take all those comments, wrap that up by the end of April, modify and submit our plan to HUD on or about May 15th. HUD then has 45 days to review and hopefully approve our plan for the start of the new program year, which is, in fact, July 1st of 2023. I'm going to switch to one of the tables in our plan, and I'll talk about the programs that are covered first, but I'll leave the chart up for a moment. This action plan covers and I keep saying 5 because it's been 5 forever. It's now in fact 6 um, programs under the Community Planning and Development Office at HUD. Home, the Home Investment Partnerships Program, CDBG Small Cities, CDBG RHP, which stands for Recovery Housing Program, the federal, or in this case, National Housing Trust Fund, or NHTF, HOPWA, Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS, and ESG, the Emergency Solutions Grants, formerly known as the Emergency Shelter Grants. There are individual program write-ups available in our old action plan. Most of you are familiar with our programs. I can give you a brief overview of each of those activities. I'll do that. I'll only take a couple of seconds for each one, just so everybody has a general understanding of the programs that we're talking about. The Home Investment Partnerships Program is predominantly a production program. It can do other peripheral things, but to date, we focus home on housing production. Generally new construction, substantial rehabilitation. Again, it can do other things. It actually allows tenant-based rental assistance. There's a small component for CHODOs, community housing development organizations. Think of it as capacity building for our community-based not-for-profits. It can also do both rental and homeownership activities, again, focused on production. It allows for preservation activities, including individual homeowner rehab type programs, but we generally focus other resources on those areas. Home in a nutshell. CDBG Small Cities, um, Community Development Block Grant, focused on our small cities. Most of the small communities in the state of Connecticut qualify to apply for CDBG. I believe 139 out of the 169 communities qualify to apply for CDBG. It cannot do new construction. That is one of the biggest prohibitions. Again, we tend to focus our CDBG money on housing preservation as opposed to some of the other eligible activities such as public infrastructure, public service, and the not-for-profit support as well. We can do those things, but the vast majority of our targeting has been to housing. As a matter of fact, the requirement is 80% of our money under CDBG must be allocated to housing-related activities as opposed to public infrastructure or public service. We stick to that. We meet that threshold every year. As a matter of fact, we generally target between 90 and 95% of our funds going to housing and housing preservation related activities. National Housing Trust Fund, again, is a production program similar to home, except it can only do new construction, substantial rehab of extremely low income housing. National Housing Trust Fund targets households at or below 30% of the area median income. We use it to leverage other resources of the department, both home as well as state bond dollars and other opportunities to produce and preserve extremely low income affordable housing. CDBG RHP, CDBG Community Development Block Grant Recovery Housing Program is a new initiative, relatively speaking. This will be our third year of a 5-year pilot program that HUD launched. We are working collaboratively with CSSD, who I see Mike Aiello is here, the Court Support Services Division of the Judicial Branch, to launch that pilot. The specifics associated with that program are it produces affordable housing specifically for individuals in recovery. We are taking that one step farther and targeting second chance citizens who have an also need for a recovery. That initiative is just getting off the ground. We do not currently intend any modifications to that program, but since Mike is here, we'll give him an opportunity to talk about that a little bit if he'd like. Two more, ESG, Emergency Solutions Grant. That's the program that in collaboration with the state's ESS, Emergency Shelter Funds, as well as CDBG, SSBG funds that we get from the Department of Social Services to address our homeless services systems and specifically provide assistance to our shelters. Finally, a very small program, HOPWA, Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS, which is a relatively small program. I will move the screen down here and show you what I mean. Annually for HOPWA, we get about $300,000. So amongst those other programs, it is fairly small. I just want to look at this real quick. Right. I should have put this one up instead of that one. This spells our anticipated funding for those 6 programs for the coming year. This spells last year, current year. This is what we anticipate getting from HUD. We received a letter earlier this week, as a matter of fact, from HUD, giving us these numbers, assuming that we submit our plan appropriately. These are the funds that we will receive for those various activities. Questions so far before I move on? Great. So the idea behind today's roundtable is to get input into the preparation of this year's coming plan. Okay. We currently do not anticipate any substantive changes among those programs, but we want to hear from you. What's working, what's not working. We work and have worked and hope to continue to work very collaboratively with our state agency partners. But if you have initiatives or activities that you anticipate in the coming year that may be able to dovetail or leverage our dollars to help you do what you do better, this is your opportunity for us to talk about that, get information on it, and potentially include it in our plan going forward. I'll start with the easy one, and at the top of the chart, RHP, the Recovery Housing Program. As I indicated earlier, we are working collaboratively with CSSD, and I see the representative here, Mike Aiello. Mike, you want to talk a little bit about where we are with that activity? And do you anticipate any changes needed or wanted associated with that?
And Mike, let me ask you, actually ask Steve. Steve, is this related to the rapid rehousing that we're doing? RHP?
No, it's a couple of things that we've been working with Miguel, and that has been identifying a site or two. We had one in Bridgeport that we were looking at to convert actual physical space that was more set up for like office, whatever, into more type of housing space where we can do a transitional housing program in that area of the state for folks reentering from criminal justice involvement who also had a substance abuse disorder. So I know that that has been on track, but a new site may need to be located depending on how some of the site reviews of the current site pan out.
So do you want me to outline our role in that? Would that help? What the thought was about Bridgeport probation and clients returning for substance abuse treatment?
Sure.
So we one of the things we talked about is we have a number of clients especially in the Southwest, because we don't have a lot of programming out there. We had a transitional housing program, which is hopefully was rebid and refunded, and we are going to be having it sometime beginning of next fiscal year. But we have a number of clients who have substance abuse, some mental health issues, who are discharging from DOC, or in the community on probation supervision, where we think this kind of housing would be very helpful to them, especially for those coming right out of DOC or coming out of a residential drug treatment program, to give them a place to be that's staff secure, not locked, have some support services, and allow them to get back and more fully re-enter the community.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it. So throw it out to the rest of our state agency partners. Is there anything you have going on or that you anticipate trying to launch that can either dovetail with this or it can be used to support you? And I see Alice has your hand up. So Alice, if you would introduce yourself, state agency, and go for it.
Sure. Hi, I'm Alice Minervino. I work at the Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services in the Housing and Homeless Services Unit. And I have a question more for Mike and probably Steve than anything we're kind of can dovetail into it. But so this, Mike Santoro said that we're entering year 3 of a 5-year grant. We've gotten, looks like almost $1 million for years 1 and 2, a little bit more in year 3. So, and Steve, I heard you say that a building was identified, it needs to be converted into more of a residential than an office space. So is the money that has already been allocated able to roll over on in the years, and that's how we're doing that? Okay. And so when the grant ends in 5 years, is there an opportunity to extend it? Because, transitional housing people do um transition out of at some point, whole idea of it, right? But you don't want to put all this equity into it and then have the program end. So I'm just wondering if the idea is from HUD that it will continue on, and that might not be an answer you can give us. I'm just curious.
Well, I
And
think the intent of this program actually is to provide the capital resources to be able to change that facility into a place that can have long-term support. And then I know on the CSSD side, there has been a provider that has shown interest in this, that has existing funding that is not HUD Recovery Housing Program, that would be able to continue that program out into the future. Clearly, that would be more related to state funds or the other source of funding to be sure that that's continued. But our intent at this point is to use it as capital to actually build and rehab the building. And then other sources of funding will continue that program going forward.
and if I can, that is actually the intended use for these funds at its outset. HUD recognized that there was a need for capital dollars to set these systems up. That is, the support systems already exist. They're leveraging other federal sources to provide those services to those population groups, but the units didn't exist. So RHP is specifically piloted to create those housing units. Those units are going to be in place for an extended period of time, as long as those clients and the systems put in place to funnel new clients in and out. Those units should be there for the next 20 years. Okay?
Okay, great. And so the additional years, you're still looking for maybe partners or ideas to expend that money.
That is correct. So,
Okay.
and again, I haven't seen the latest budget for the current activities, but this is a 5-year pilot by HUD. It could be picked up, and that is certainly our hope, that at the end of the 5-year period, HUD will complete their study on effectiveness and make the determination that it is in fact worth extending
Okay.
under the CDBG model.
Yeah, because I know we've been talking, not necessarily the housing unit, but DMIS and our forensics unit had been talking with, I believe it was Steve in the beginning. So, if there's still opportunities to do that, we're always open. So just a little plug
Appreciate
for our friends in forensics.
Appreciate that, Alice. And as you know, we have a very good working relationship with Demas, and we hope to be able to continue that both under this as well as all the other supportive housing initiatives that we have going.
Ditto.
Thanks. I won't spend a lot of time on Hopwa. We've got 2 properties, I think, left in the HOPWA program. These provide rental assistance to those 2 properties. We provide support services through other initiatives. ESG, Emergency Solutions Grant. Steve, would you talk a little bit about what we do with our ESG money currently, and if there are any plans for changing?
Sure. So ESG provides a couple different funding opportunities for individuals experiencing homelessness. It can be used for homeless outreach, emergency shelter, as well as rapid rehousing. The rapid rehousing piece, which provides short-term rental assistance up to 2 years with case management, is required by HUD to have 40% of the total allocation go to that program. So that's exactly what we do. We provide 40% for rental assistance. So the ESG pays the rent for the tenant, and DOH matches with some service dollars. The rest of the funding, most of the rest of the funding goes to support emergency shelters. So we have, in combining with state dollars as well as the social DSS's social services block grant, we have shelters throughout the state. And there is two small portions, one for admin, obviously, all grants need admin, and the other one is for the homeless management information system so that we can collect data on the folks that we serve.
Thanks, Steve. Anybody have questions about what we do with our ESG money? And anybody have ideas or concepts for how we can leverage what you do better with what we do? And I should say, this is really just the start of the conversation. We are taking written comment as well. Please feel free after today's session. Take a look at our programs covered by the specific action plan. And if you believe that you can help us or we can help you with those activities, please send us a note. We're happy to take that comment and to explore opportunities better. That's the idea here, is we're looking to expand what we do, how we do, to better serve the state in all of its state agency partners. I'll talk a little bit now about CDBG Small Cities. The Community Development Block Grant Small Cities program is a very versatile program in some ways and very limited in others. We don't get to spend the money. For CDBG Small Cities, we actually make grants to municipal and other governmental entities to run programs at their municipal level. There are 30 roughly entitlements here in the state of Connecticut. They get a direct CDBG allocation from HUD, predominantly our larger urban centers. We get a large allocation that we then distribute to our smaller geographies. We get about 30 communities, 30 to 35 that routinely apply for CDBG funds. Those activities are then handled at the local level. We monitor those programs, and we see a wide variety of activities from homeowner rehab programs to some public infrastructure and predominantly to public housing or affordable housing preservation at the local level. We've got a number of communities that are working closely with their not-for-profits and their local housing authorities to support the preservation of those units. We've also, over the years, served other smaller communities in promoting home ownership, maintenance, that is, homeowner rehab programs, to help those communities maintain their neighborhoods. Questions or ways off the top of your head that we can better leverage CDBG funds at the local level to support housing preservation? Right now, our intent is to prioritize affordable housing, public housing preservation. We're not limiting applications to those activities. Any CDBG eligible activity is welcomed, but we will be prioritizing housing preservation unless we hear somebody who has a better idea at this point. Okay. Please take a look, give us your thoughts on that as well. National Housing Trust Fund. It's a very limited program in some ways, but it's also very expansive in others. We have to produce 30% of AMI units, but they are grant funds. So we can layer them into projects or activities to fully subsidize the cost of those deep income targeted units, making projects easier to get across the finish line. It allows us to fill gaps and essentially takes limits off of how much other funding we can put into the project. Our focus here again is new construction, substantial rehab. We do not typically do preservation with National Housing Trust Fund. We can, but we have other targeted activities. And I see our partners from CHAFA. Terry, please introduce yourself and then.
Good morning, Michael. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm Terry Nash at Connecticut Housing Finance Authority. This is just a question. I was curious, does the National Housing Trust Fund dollars put into a deal trigger Davis-Bacon at some point? Is it the same like with home funds?
And the short answer is yes, Terry. It is exactly the same relative to the triggering of Davis-Bacon. For those of you not in the housing world, Davis-Bacon establishes wage thresholds for contractors and subcontractors. In the state of Connecticut, it's essentially the equivalent of paying prevailing wage.
There's no getting around that, right?
There is no getting around that. So it's 12 or more units.
Okay.
But what National Housing Trust Fund allows us to do, at least under the current requirements, is fully subsidize the cost of that unit. Unlike the home program, which has moderate per unit subsidy limits, waivers under the National Housing Trust Fund allow us to raise those limits so we can actually more deeply subsidize the cost of units at that deep income targeted level to make the projects more affordable on the construction side. We try to leverage a wide variety of resources with our National Housing Trust Fund money to just address those real deep income targeted units. When you think about a typical project that's 30 to 40 or units or so, 11 deep income targeted units in that mix is pretty much right in the sweet spot of where we want, because we really focus on promoting mixed income properties, extremely low income, moderate income, and very often market rate units in those properties as well. We believe in building communities, not in building projects. So.
Thank you. That's very helpful because I was thinking, and you may already do this, but I was thinking how nicely it dovetails with the 9% low-income housing tax credit program and our deep income targeting preferences and points incentives that, if say in every development, and we too are creating neighborhoods in a building, right? It's all levels of income, but there is such a huge need for units below 50% AMI, and in particular, we're prioritizing those units that are 30% AMI and below, trying to find any resources we can to support those and to create supportive housing in our light tech developments. So just wanted to throw that out there, is that it's a really good match, and thank you for that resource.
Appreciate that, Terry. And again, we've worked regularly with CHFA on that initiative, and this works very well with another program not covered by the action plan, but one that we administer at the department, the Section 811 Project-Based Rental Assistance Program, or Section 811 PRA. That provides rental subsidies to households in certain population groups being served by that program. And if you layer National Housing Trust Fund to create the unit and the Section 811 PRA to provide subsidies for those households, it allows the property to better cash flow, to then again allow us that to build that mix of incomes being served. Anybody else questions about National Housing Trust Fund or ways that we can use it? And Alina, please introduce yourself and go for it.
Sorry. Good morning, everyone. Alina Truer, the Deputy Commissioner of the Office of Early Childhood. And Thank you for this. It's been great to listen and learn about all of the different work and initiatives happening. I just wanted to underscore the tremendous partnership that we have with the Department of Housing and now CSDE as well. And really supporting and being able to align resources when it comes to children and families with young children, and really thinking about our Head Start on Housing program, the expansion there. And I guess just wanted to say thank you for that, but also extend just the opportunity as we think about all the different funding streams and programs within the Office of Early Childhood, that we are here to continue to explore additional opportunities. And that can be, making sure we're sharing the information that you feel is critical to get out to communities and to get out to families. We're happy to do that, and be also able to connect and link different resources together as well. So just wanted to make sure I made that point here.
Alina, thank you, Deputy Commissioner. We appreciate your attendance, your participation, and the growing collaboration between our two agencies. I know that under a different program not covered here, the Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher Program, we intend to target specifically some of your clientele, and we hope that that initiative actually will work out in the coming year and then going forward. So we thank you for your participation in this initiative, as well as going down the road looking for other ways for our agencies to collaborate. Anybody else on anything we've talked about so far? Okay. And I feel like I skipped something. What did I skip? I guess
Did you talk about home?
I guess I didn't talk about home. Thank you, Terry. I was just going to say that. So home is the most flexible of all of these programs. That is, the home regulations allow us to do a wide variety of activities, from rental housing to home ownership, rental subsidies, not-for-profit support related activities. And we do all of them to a greater or lesser extent. Every year, there is a 15% set aside for CHODOs, Community Housing Development Organizations. That is both for organizational capacity building, as well as we're required to spend, again, at least 15% on CHODO-related projects or activities. We are currently looking for community housing development organizations to bring projects forward. If you know of a local community-based not-for-profit that has an affordable housing project or activity that they are trying to get off the ground and they have not had conversations with us, please send them our way. We can't pay for the social services, but we can pay for the physical facilities, for the other related costs to getting those kinds of things off the ground, particularly with CHODOs. In general, as I talked about earlier, home targets 50% of area median income households and below. It can do some 80% of area median income households, particularly in the home ownership venue. And we're exploring new home ownership activities in the coming year. We also hope to leverage this with our ARP dollars. For those of you who are not aware, we got $50 million out of the state's general ARP allocation, specifically targeted for affordable housing. And in the governor's proposed budget, we're looking at about $100 million for a new initiative that's being referred to as workforce housing, which we see as serving populations up to 120% of AMI. Again, we build communities, so we try to layer or leverage a variety of funding streams to serve those different population groups. So if we use our workforce housing dollars to do the higher income folks up to 120% of AMI, our state bond dollars to serve 80% of AMI as a target, home at 50, National Housing Trust Fund at 30, we have an opportunity through a variety of resources to to get projects that serve a wide variety of income groups without overburdening any one funding source. Does it make these deals extremely financially complex? Yes, it does. But we find we get the best bang for our buck when we're able to do that. It allows our development community to better target resources, to better leverage their own private financing, because the private lenders look at it as, hey, the state is fully invested in these projects through a variety of activities. It does make compliance a little tricky, but we've got that down, I think, fairly well. So now is an opportunity. I'm going to turn it around to all of you, or to any of you. If you could, talk about any collaboration that you have with us right now. And if you've got ideas for new collaborative opportunities, we'd love to hear them, either at this forum right now or over the next 15 days or so in writing. So anybody, please raise your hand and then introduce yourself. And if you would, talk a little bit about what we're already doing together. Peter, please.
Hi, I'm Peter from the Connecticut Green Bank. Just wanted to thank Michael, you and the DOH team, and also the CHAFA team. I know we've been working with Deep really hard on and utilities and other folks on the new solar tariff for affordable multifamily, which is brand new, and has a lot of really great benefits for low income residents, and that in tandem with the new resources through the Inflation Reduction Act at the federal level, just a lot to absorb, and we're at the point where we're ready to start piloting some projects. So we're really excited about the possibilities and the future for clean energy for our most disadvantaged communities and renters and families. So thank you for we're just excited to be partnering with you all.
Thanks, Peter. We appreciate it. Yeah, the energy programs have really sprung up over the last couple of years. For those who don't know, we're talking about, and I always get the name wrong, SCRIF and RES. And I can't tell you what they stand for. All I know is they promote the use of alternative energy sources, particularly targeting multifamily, but it also does individual homeowner related energy savings type programs. Energy is a complicated area, and I think we're all continue to learn how they work together, how they work and can benefit some of our other programs and activities. And Mike, I'll get to you in 1 second. I was remiss. I should give our newest member at the department an opportunity to say hello and say a few words. Deputy Commissioner McGee, my apologies for not recognizing you sooner. Would you like to say any words to your state agency partners and friends?
Well, thanks for the impromptu greetings here. Let me just get my camera up and running here while I was working on a report, listening to all of the great information you all are sharing. Thank you so much, Michael, and thank you to all of you, our partners here. I am several weeks on the job, but I have been in the housing space for a very long time. And to be on this side, to participate with each and every one of you is absolutely amazing. Thank you for the work that you all continue to do. Your leadership and your innovative thinking is well appreciated and needed during this time. We got a hill to climb, folks, and working through state government and all of the guidelines and all of sometimes the red tape. Let's continue to clean our lenses and keep at the forefront of what we do, people, and the need to support them. So I'll be here, camera off, but listening to all of the great work that you all are doing. Thanks again, Michael.
I appreciate it, Deputy Commissioner. I apologize for dropping that on you.
No, it's okay. It's
I
okay.
I did not notice you earlier. I would have given you the
No,
opportunity.
please, no
So.
need to apologize. I'm good. Thank you.
All right. So Mike, you were up next.
Yeah, I was just going to, well, Michael Aiello, Judicial Branch Court Support Services. I was just gonna, some folks already are familiar with this, but we do a couple of collaborations with Department of Housing, one of which is the Rapid Rehousing Program. So we have in New Haven, Hartford, and soon to be Bridgeport, rapid rehousing for probation clients, people who are either in the community or coming out of DOC who are unstably housed or homeless. DOH provides the subsidy. We pay for the case management. So in New Haven, it's Columbus House. In Hartford, it's Mercy. And in Bridgeport, it is soon to be the Housing Collective. We utilize this through an MOA with DOH. We have the case managers in each location who work with people just like rapid rehousing. And then DOH provides the subsidy through their fiduciary. And it's worked very successful in Hartford and New Haven. We've housed a number of people. The subsidy is pretty similar to what you guys do, except the timeframes are a little shorter. We usually try and do anywhere from like 3 to 6 months with subsidy. And we look for people that are compliant with their probation supervision, who have some ability to earn income or entitlements. We don't want to leave them, set them up to fail, put them in an apartment that they won't be able to keep or maintain. So it's worked very well. We've actually put in an ARPA request to do some of the same kind of work with pretrial clients. So I'm hoping we'll be able to expand that to some pretrial clients as well. And the other thing is, on the juvenile side or the young adult side, I know that the Justice Education Center received a lot of money to do some work with Project Longevity. So gun involved kids, people who are in jeopardy of being shot, where we're going to kind of do a similar type thing. Well, they'll get that intervention and service in the community. And the subsidy and the housing would come through DOH. So it's going to be very similar to what we're doing with probation, except targeted specifically for this group of kids who are in jeopardy, gang related, truly in jeopardy of being a victim of violence. So, we're looking to expand on this initiative, and I'm just hoping it keeps working.
Thanks, Mike. We hope the same thing. Before I go over to Alice, I just want to say, folks, if you listen to what Mike just talked about, it's that collaboration where you've got an initiative already going, but you need some help on the housing side. Please engage us. A lot of the programs and a lot of the funding streams that we have some opportunity to do those kinds of what I would characterize as one-offs. We're not talking about a big financial need or a big financial commitment on our side. So if you're doing something that we can help you do related to the housing side, please reach out. Reach out to myself, reach out to our deputy commissioner, reach out to Steve DeLella or Miguel Rivera on the housing development side. We are available. We want to talk because the more we work together, the more effective we all are with the various resources that we have. Alice, what do you got?
Mike, we have a lot, you know that. So I just really want to start by saying, our partnership with DOH is very longstanding, has been, you know, before it was DOH, we worked really closely with Department of Social Services to really get great funding, great resources for permanent supportive housing programs for people experiencing homelessness and who have a mental health or substance use or a combination of. We've really been able to be a leader in the country related to the housing that we've done, and that is in no small part to having partners like DOH being able to support the people in the housing once they're housed, but even before that with funding for the diversion staff. That's really important to help people so that they don't have to enter our system, so that there are resources for them to be able to hold off from becoming homeless. And really that's an important piece of the entire spectrum that we look at. So we really appreciate that work. We appreciate the you guys are the grantees for a number of rapid rehousing programs, and that's really helpful to help people stabilize. And if they need permanent supportive housing, we work together to transition them into that. We've had many projects together that are specific to certain populations that we, really, we've worked with the I still call it FUSE, the Connecticut Collaborative on Reentry, this Social Innovation Fund. And, I really can't say enough about how important it is to have the affordable housing piece of the work, plus the support services, and a lot of the work that you guys have done related to getting the hubs up and running. Again, the diversion staff to help kind of mitigate some of that entry. I did see Steve's hand go up, so I'm going to stop talking. And no, you don't want me to stop talking? You want me to just keep on going? All right, I'll talk till the end. I'll talk next 12 minutes. I can do it.
I know you can, Alice, and we appreciate that.
I'm just kidding. So I just really want to say, I think it, to sustain and continue to be a national leader, continue to really focus ending homelessness in Connecticut. I think these are all things, strategies that we need to continue to work together on and really focus our funding on. So that's just my plug of the day. So take it for what it's worth.
Thanks,
and-
Alice. We
Sure.
appreciate it. Before I go to you, Steve, I see we have another state agency partner with their hand up. Tammy, introduce yourself and
Hi.
go for it.
Can you guys hear me okay? So Tamara Lopez with Department of Social Services. I'm going to throw in another plug for the Department of Housing and the work that they've done with us, specific to helping with the rebalancing efforts for the department for long-term care support, long-term supports and services, without kind of the assistance on the subsidy end, not only from the subsidy perspective, but also in would you consider the security deposit guarantee a subsidy? I mean, I kind of, sort of, but in either case, both of those things have really made a humongous difference in our efforts in rebalancing. And as you can see, kind of the shift in the dynamic from the nursing home to kind of where we're going today. We also have partnered with them with our work on the CHESS initiative, which we're working on. We're working on it. And I think there's going to be a lot more partnership needed to help bring that up to where it needs to be, not only with DOH, but with Demas and Alice's team and stuff like that. So I just wanted to throw that out there. We really appreciate all of the efforts and hope we can find more ways for us to work together, because I think there's lots of new things on the horizon. I just got an email about something that they were trying to move forward. It looked like and it may be another tie into housing. So I will share that with you guys when I have more details about it. So I'm really excited about all the work that we do together.
Appreciate it, Tammy, and thank you right back at you, in particular at the Department of Social Services. You guys handle the front end. I like to think we are predominantly a bricks and mortar agency, and we help you guys to deal with your clients in to make your programs more effective by stabilizing their home environment, by stabilizing their housing conditions. So thank you. Steve, go ahead, and then I'm going to share one last chart with everybody.
Sure. Thank you, Mike, Tammy, and Alice. I just raised my hand to, just for the record, put some of our other collaborations on there if some of our other state partners didn't bring up some of the things that we do together. So I'm glad that we heard about our partnerships with CSSD, Demas, as well as DSS. Alice even referred to a program, the CCR initiative, which also affects the Department of the Department of Correction. But there are a couple other state agencies we also work with. We've begun work with the state college, the community colleges, to do do a very similar rapid rehousing program that we do with CSSD, except for community college students who are suffering from some housing stability. In that program, we provide the rent subsidy to let them finish their degree, and then the community colleges work to get them employment, which then takes them off the subsidy. So that's a great prevention and just breaking the cycle of poverty initiative that we started as well. We also work closely with DDS, providing some capital funds, and DDS has been providing rent subsidies and case management services to their population to create supportive housing for individuals with IDD. So very, very excited about that, and we're looking to continue that as well. And we do have some other programs that we've worked with the federal Department of Veterans Affairs as well to provide case management and rental assistance to homeless veterans. So as Mike said, clearly we are always around to partner. It is my personal belief that housing is the basis for success for most of our sister state agencies, clients that they serve, especially on the social services side, because without stable housing, it's difficult to obtain the outcomes that our sister state agencies are looking to achieve. So if we partner together, I think it will have great impact on both systems. And the one agency I did forget off the top of my head was Department of Children and Families. And we do work with them on a family reunification program that really is beneficial to put the children back with their family in a permanent housing situation. So as you can see, we do lots of stuff, but we want to do more.
Thank you, Steve. Terry, before you go, I want to share this one table. Technically, it's two tables. It shows up interaction plan. It may be a little small, but I want to bring to your attention two numbers. 355 million and 203 million and change. That's the amount of money that we, our very small state agency called the Department of Housing, will manage over the next year. I said it before to a lot of different audiences. I want to say it to all of you guys. We are small but mighty. We want to do more. We want to help you do better, do what you do better. But we appreciate all the collaboration that we have had to date. We don't want it to end. We want more, especially under the current administration with Deputy Commissioner McGee, Commissioner Salem Mascara Bruno. Our interagency activity is critical to the success of the state overall. It's not about DOH. It's about the state of Connecticut. We are committed to helping the state and our sister agencies succeed. And as Steve said, if you have a stable housing environment, we believe all other outcomes turn out better. Terry, I'm going to pause you there because I have someone who'd like to add something who hasn't had an opportunity to talk before. Commissioner Sadi, please.
Thank you, and sorry I didn't participate sooner. I was mobile and on my phone, didn't want to do it that way. I'm in the office now. Just in following on the last briefing by Steve, just so everyone is tracking, I know, Mike, we've done a lot of work together, and thank you for some of that information that you provided to us with regard to the potential for certain lines of funding for potential family housing or more family housing on our campus. Without divulging details, there are some community-based nonprofits as well as legislators who are interested in that type of a partnership to do something on our campus. We do have available space. So that is something that's important to look at as existing state footprints where there's available space without having to go buy new stuff, for lack of a better word. And then I know you're right on board with that. The other issue is just making sure everyone is tracking what we have, our veteran residential program for individual veterans, our 5 family homes for up to 24 months for veterans with spouses and or dependent children. That's what we'd like to expand. And then, of course, our skilled nursing facility, 125 beds. We do have beds available. I know it's not part of housing or homelessness necessarily, but it's very important because it's long-term skilled nursing care for veterans. Any veteran who is 70% or more service-connected disabled, the VA pays in full for them. We receive a per diem in full. They do not have to go in Title 19. They do not have to do a spend down. They do not have to liquidate assets. That is very important. 70% or more service-connected disabled veterans can get a skilled nursing bed without having to go through that traditional process that, hopefully we don't have to do, but many of us may, or relatives have gone through that.
And before we get off of that, I have a quick question. Does it has to be a skilled nursing bed, or can it be more traditional housing?
Negative. Not that I'm
Okay.
aware of or that we have on our
Okay.
campus. This is specifically as
Yeah.
a state certified veterans home.
Okay.
It is they call it domiciliary, which is our residential,
Yes.
or skilled nursing. It's those two buckets. I don't mean to use that derogatory term, but those two
No.
areas for which we receive the per diem. But the key is that 70% or more service-connected disabled for skilled nursing care. That's also, unless I'm incorrect, for contract beds in community-based skilled nursing facilities who have contracts with federal VA. Those are traditional skilled nursing facilities, but they do have a number of beds reserved by contract with the federal VA. Our skilled nursing facility, every bed is like that, all 125 if they're eligible. So we have Title 19, we have private pay, but we have the 70% or more. We call them SCD, service connected disabled. So just want to get that out there. And I see Terry shaking her head yes, and I thank you, Mike, to be able to say that this is great. Housing, we all know, is becoming tighter. Rocky Hill is having a crisis right now with certain issues and landlords. So we're engaged with them, and whatever we can do, but want to make sure everyone gets housing, proper housing. But obviously, my bailiwick is focusing on veterans.
Absolutely, and we appreciate the collaboration and the cooperation. And yes, we look forward to moving some of those other initiatives forward in the coming year. I mean, I say it as plainly as I can. We got money. We got money for housing. We need to get it out the door. We need to get it done. If we can help you do what you're doing, more's the better. Okay, so thank you all. Terry, I had something you wanted to add.
Last minute, I just wanted to say, in addition to all of the multifamily programs that we work collaboratively with DOH, CHFA and DOH have collaborated on single family initiatives as well. So I just wanted to throw that out there. There's a lot of single family work, the down payment assistance, the emergency assistance, the relief for tenants during the COVID time. There was a lot of programs and a lot of money that went out, and we've worked very tightly to get that in place. So I just wanted to throw that out there, not to forget the single family side of the house too.
Thank you, Terry. And some of you may have heard about the newest in that venue, which is Time to Own. It's a homeowner initiative program to help our lower or moderate income households get into their first home. It can provide between $25,000 and $50,000 for essentially deferred diminishing loan to help first-time homebuyers get in and build equity over a 10-year period. More information on that's out at our website. We're just about at time, folks. We could talk about this stuff all day. Does anybody have anything you want to put on the table that we have not yet talked about? Okay. If you think of something 5 minutes from now, you wanted to say that, please send us an email. We will include it in our deliberations. We will include it in our application to HUD. If you think of new ways that we can work together, we want to hear about it. We want to talk to you about it. We are always looking for new opportunities to help you do what you do better. I thank you all for your time and your participation. You will get to do this again. Again, once our new draft plan is put out for public comment, we'll be sure it goes out to all of you. And we will look for formal additional comments at that time. Again, we prefer to do the state roundtable specifically for our state agency partners, separate from the general public or even our community-based partners, to give you guys ample time, opportunity to put your thoughts on the table, to think collaboratively and cooperatively. I've been doing this a long time. You guys make us better. And if we continue to work together, I see nothing but continued success going forward. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day, and we'll be in touch.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mike and everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.